Boeing 777 is missing flight MH370, which vanished from radar contact.
The world was thrust into uncertainty when Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 vanished into thin air on March 2014. 227 passengers and 12 crew members embarked on a routine journey, only to become the subjects of a perplexing aviation mystery. Despite intensive efforts to locate the missing aircraft, the world was left in suspense. This gripping tale of the vanished flight has puzzled experts and ignited widespread speculation. The absence of concrete evidence and the elusive nature of the crash site have fueled a plethora of theories about the fate of MH370. Join us as we unravel the mystery of MH370 and investigate the haunting question of what went wrong on that fateful day. The untold story of Malaysian Airlines MH370. On March 8, 2014, at 12:42 a.m., a Malaysian Airlines Boeing 777-200ER departed from Kuala Lumpur en route to Beijing. The aircraft ascended to its designated cruising altitude of 35,000 feet. Malaysia Airlines, often referred to as MH370, operated this flight. The pilot, Farek Hamid, served as the first officer and was 27 years old at the time. This particular flight marked the culmination of Farek Hamid's training, as he was on the verge of completing his certification. Serving as his instructor was pilot-in-command Zahari Ahmad Shah, a 53-year-old captain with extensive experience at Malaysia Airlines. On board the aircraft were 10 Malaysian flight attendants entrusted with the well-being of 227 passengers, including 5 children. The majority of passengers hailed from China, with others originating from Indonesia, Australia, India, France, the United States, Iran, Ukraine, Canada, New Zealand, the Netherlands, Russia, and Taiwan. During the flight, Captain Zahari managed communication via the cockpit radios, while First Officer Farek handled the piloting duties. The aircraft adhered to standard operating procedures, with Zahari's radio transmissions deviating slightly from the norm. At 1:01 a.m., he reported the aircraft's level flight at 35,000 feet, a redundant communication given the existing radar surveillance in the airspace. At 1:08 a.m., Malaysian Airlines flight MH370, having crossed the Malaysian coastline and progressed toward Vietnam across the South China Sea, reported its altitude as 35,000 feet. 11 minutes later, nearing a waypoint close to the Vietnam border, the Kuala Lumpur Center controller instructed the aircraft to contact Ho Chi Minh on a frequency of 120.9. Captain Zahari confirmed the aircraft's identity as Malaysian 370, but omitted the customary readback of the assigned frequency. Nevertheless, the remainder of the transmission appeared routine. Regrettably, no further communication was received from MH370. The pilots failed to establish contact with Ho Chi Minh or respond to subsequent attempts to communicate. Primary radar relies on unprocessed signals from objects in the sky, while secondary radar, employed in air traffic control systems, depends on transponder signals emitted by each aircraft. Secondary radar provides additional information, including the aircraft's identity and altitude. Approximately 5 seconds after MH370 entered Vietnamese airspace, the transponder symbol disappeared from Malaysian air traffic control screens. 37 seconds later, the entire aircraft vanished from secondary radar at 1:21 a.m., approximately 39 minutes after takeoff. The Kuala Lumpur air traffic controller, preoccupied with other aircraft on the screen, initially overlooked the disappearance. Upon realization, the assumption was that the plane had transitioned to the jurisdiction of Ho Chi Minh beyond the controller's purview. Concurrently, Vietnamese controllers observed MH370 entering their airspace and subsequently noted its absence from radar. There appeared to be a misinterpretation of an agreement mandating prompt notification to Kuala Lumpur if a handed-off aircraft exceeded a 5-minute delay in checking in. Despite multiple attempts, Vietnamese controllers were unable to establish contact with MH370. Approximately 18 minutes after MH370 disappeared from the radar, Vietnamese authorities contacted Kuala Lumpur to report the situation. However, what followed was a display of confusion and incompetence. According to established protocols, The Aeronautical Rescue Coordination Center in Kuala Lumpur should have been notified within an hour of the plane's disappearance. But this had not occurred even by 2:30 a.m. An emergency response was finally initiated at 6:32 a.m., a delay of 4 hours since the plane, scheduled to reach Beijing, remained unlocated. Initially, search efforts concentrated on the South China Sea, the region between Malaysia and Vietnam. This collaborative international initiative involved 34 ships and 28 aircraft from 7 different countries. Despite these concerted efforts, MH370 remained elusive and could not be located. Delving into the perplexing disappearance of Malaysia Airlines flight MH370, recent scientific discoveries have emerged, reshaping our understanding of this tragic incident. These findings hold the potential to provide profound insights into the circumstances surrounding the disaster, challenging our previous assumptions. The unsettling communications of Malaysian Airlines MH370. Radar data sourced from air traffic control systems, in conjunction with classified information from the Malaysian Air Force, revealed a distinctive course of events after MH370 vanished from secondary radar detection. The aircraft executed a notable deviation, steering sharply towards the southwest. Subsequently, it retraced its route over the Malay Peninsula, completing a circuit around the island of Penang. Following this, the plane changed course, heading in a northwest trajectory, traversing the Malacca Strait and ultimately disappearing from radar surveillance over the Andaman Sea. This phase of the flight extended for more than an hour, deviating significantly from the patterns associated with conventional hijackings, accidents, or pilot suicide scenarios. The inquiry into MH370 promptly led investigators down unexpected and uncharted paths from the outset. The enigma surrounding MH370 has been the subject of a protracted investigation, with public speculation running high. The global community, deeply affected by the incident, empathizes with the families enduring the profound loss. The notion that a technologically sophisticated aircraft equipped with modern instruments and redundant communication systems could mysteriously vanish appears improbable. In an era where even deleting an email permanently is challenging and living entirely off the grid is nearly implausible, the disappearance of a Boeing 777, designed for continuous electronic connectivity, has prompted a range of theories. While some of these theories may seem far-fetched, they gain traction due to the rarity of commercial aeroplanes disappearing in today's technologically advanced environment. Despite prompt denials from Malaysian officials and efforts by the Malaysian Air Force to introduce confusion into the situation, the truth regarding the aircraft's unusual flight path swiftly emerged. In the 6 hours following its disappearance from radar detection, MH370 intermittently established communication with a stationary satellite positioned over the Indian Ocean. The satellite in question was under the management of Inmarsat, a London-based company. This pattern of communication implies that the aircraft did not succumb to a sudden catastrophic event. Instead, indications suggest that the plane maintained a sustained high-speed and high-altitude flight during this period. This extended flight was facilitated by the deliberate deactivation or disconnection of specific communication systems, including passenger equipment, cockpit technology, and automated maintenance reports. The interactions with the Inmarsat satellite manifested as brief electronic signals, akin to faint whispers of communication. In total, there were 7 instances of connection, 2 initiated automatically by the aircraft, and 5 initiated by the Inmarsat ground station. Additionally, 2 satellite phone calls were placed, both yielding no response but providing additional details. Notably, most of these communications were tied to the 2 values recently recorded by HEMA. This sequence of events adds complexity to the investigation and raises questions about the deliberate actions taken to manipulate the aircraft's communication systems during this critical time frame. The examination of technical data strongly suggests that the aircraft likely altered its course towards the south. Substantial support for this assertion comes from the second recorded value obtained from Inmarsat, termed the Doppler value. This measurement is pivotal as it encompasses a critical assessment of how the aircraft's frequency changes due to its rapid movement concerning the satellite's position, a standard aspect of airplane communication with satellites during flight. For seamless communication, The aircraft's systems typically predict and adjust for these frequency changes. However, the adjustment process is not flawless, given that satellites, particularly as they age, may not consistently transmit signals exactly as anticipated by the aircraft. Factors such as the satellite's orbit tilt and temperature variations can further influence the signals they emit, leaving discernible traces on the data. Consequently, these factors contribute to the nuanced analysis of the Doppler value, shedding light on the intricate nature of the aircraft's trajectory and the potential challenges encountered during its communication with the satellite. The intricate web of deception in MH370's story. Despite Doppler shift logs never having been utilized previously to precisely determine an aeroplane's location, technicians in London at Marset successfully identified a notable distortion at 2:40 a.m., indicating a southward turn. This turning point was identified north and west of Sumatra, the northernmost island of Indonesia. While there exists some analytical uncertainty, it is posited that the aircraft maintained a straight and level trajectory for an extended duration toward Antarctica, a destination beyond its operational range. Following 6 hours, the Doppler data uncovered a rapid descent, exceeding the typical descent rate by up to 5 times. The plane descended into the ocean within a minute or two after crossing the 7th arc, potentially shedding components before impact. Contrary to a planned water landing, the electronic evidence suggests a scenario where the aircraft disintegrated into numerous pieces almost instantly. However, the precise location and cause of the impact remained unknown at this juncture, with no physical evidence available to corroborate the satellite interpretations. The investigation continued to grapple with the mystery surrounding the ultimate fate of MH370. The initial disclosure of satellite transmissions about the plane's disappearance was first reported by the Wall Street Journal within a week of the incident. The report indicated that the aircraft likely remained airborne for several hours after losing communication. Subsequently, Malaysian officials acknowledged the accuracy of the report. Malaysia's government, facing accusations of corruption in the region, exhibited a secretive and untrustworthy demeanor during the investigation. This behavior caused significant chaos for accident investigators from Europe, Australia, and the United States. The Malaysians initially withheld information and erroneously focused sea searches in the South China Sea, resulting in the absence of floating debris. Had the Malaysians been transparent from the outset, potential debris discoveries could have narrowed down the plane's approximate location, expediting the recovery of the black boxes. The underwater search eventually led to a distant section of the ocean, though its vastness posed challenges. Notably, the 2-year process to locate the black boxes from Air France Flight 447, which crashed in the Atlantic in 2009, illustrates the difficulties even with a precise search area. Despite being officially responsible, the Malaysians lacked the capabilities and knowledge for a deep-sea search and recovery operation. Fortunately, Australia, as responsible global citizens, assumed a leadership role in the Indian Ocean based on satellite data. This region, characterized by immense depth and unexplored areas, initially posed challenges in accurately mapping the underwater terrain. Only then could side-scanning sonar vehicles be towed safely, covering vast distances beneath the ocean's surface. The ocean floor, marked by ridges in complete darkness where no light had ever reached, presented a unique and formidable exploration challenge. A captivating revelation has surfaced, shedding light on the perplexing circumstances surrounding Malaysian Flight 370. This revelation suggests a meticulously orchestrated scheme rather than the conventional explanations attributing the incident to a mere mishap. The flight's enigmatic trajectory, marked by a lack of electronic communication, resists easy classification as a typical outcome of technical malfunction or human error. Conventional explanations, including potential factors like computer glitches, control system failures, environmental disturbances such as ice, lightning, or bird strikes, and even more remote possibilities like meteorites or volcanic ash, struggle to account for the intricacies of the flight path. Notably, the spectrum of potential mechanical and human-related failures, ranging from sensors to radio equipment, and from instruments to electrical systems, falls short of capturing the deliberate nature of this deviation. Even scenarios involving fire, smoke, explosive decompression, cargo detonation, or pilot incapacitation prove inadequate in unraveling the layers of intent woven into this perplexing occurrence. The absence of precedents such as pilot confusion, medical emergencies, or external threats like bombs or wartime actions further deepens the mystery surrounding this event. The terrifying sequence of events aboard MH370. Contrary to widespread assumptions, the plane's control was not seized remotely from the electrical equipment bay beneath the forward galley. Rather, it was manipulated from within the cockpit. This occurred between 1:01 a.m., when the aircraft reached an altitude of 35,000 feet, and 1:21 a.m. when it vanished from secondary radar. In this 20-minute time frame, the aeroplane's automatic condition reporting system routinely transmitted its 30-minute update to the airline's maintenance department via satellite. This update encompassed details such as fuel level, altitude, speed, geographic position, and any anomalies, confirming the operational status of the aircraft's satellite communication system at that moment. Given the improbability of both pilots collaborating in such a manner, it is likely that by the time the plane disappeared from secondary radar, one of the pilots was either incapacitated, deceased, or deliberately locked out of the cockpit. Primary radar detected the presence of both military and civilian aircraft. Subsequent investigation indicated that the pilot of MH370 probably disengaged the autopilot, as the precise turn to the southwest was too controlled to be executed by automated systems. Furthermore, it appears that the individual in control intentionally depressurized the plane and deactivated a significant portion, if not all, of the electrical system around the same time. The motive behind this action remains unclear, but it inadvertently resulted in a temporary disruption of the satellite link. Mike, an electrical engineer based in Boulder, Colorado, and a key member of an independent group, has extensively analyzed radar data associated with an aeroplane. His firm conviction is that, during a turn, the aircraft ascended to an altitude of 40,000 feet, perilously close to its maximum limit. In this maneuver, passengers on board would have felt the force pushing them back into their seats due to the G-forces involved. Mike's hypothesis posits that this climb was a deliberate action to swiftly depressurize the plane, resulting in the rapid incapacitation and demise of all individuals in the cabin. This intentional depressurization, according to Mike, was likely executed as a means of preemptively managing any potential unruly behavior during the extended duration of the flight. The effects of depressurization would have remained unnoticed within the cabin if not for the abrupt deployment of drop-down oxygen masks. These masks, designed for emergency use, have a limited duration of no more than 15 minutes at altitudes below 13,000 feet. At an elevated cruising altitude of 40,000 feet, occupants in the cabin would likely have lost consciousness swiftly due to incapacitation. There would be no signs of struggling for breath, as the deceased passengers would have remained seated, their faces resting against oxygen masks rendered ineffective and hanging from the cabin ceiling. The scene would be dimly illuminated by emergency lights. In contrast, the cockpit boasts 4 pressurized oxygen masks capable of supplying air for an extended duration. An individual intentionally causing depressurization could easily avail themselves of one of these cockpit masks to sustain safe breathing. The aircraft was rapidly advancing, registering on primary radars as an unidentified blip approaching Penang Island at nearly 600 miles per hour. The nearby area hosts Butterworth Air Base, equipped with Malaysian F-18 fighter jets and air defense radar. However, it appeared that there was limited attention being given to these developments. The isolation and transformation of Captain Zahari. An alternate theory regarding the disappearance of MH370 revolves around the actions of its captain. Is it plausible that the captain assumed control without resorting to force? While the notion of a pilot causing harm to innocent passengers to terminate their own life may be unsettling, historical incidents suggest it is not unprecedented. In 1997, the captain of Silk Air, a Singaporean airline, was suspected of disabling crucial recorders in a Boeing 737 before deliberately crashing it into a river at high speeds. Similarly, in 1999, The co-pilot of Egypt's Air Flight 990 intentionally crashed into the sea near Long Island, resulting in the loss of all lives on board. Before the disappearance of MH370, the captain of Mozambique Airlines Flight 70 crashed the aircraft from a high altitude, resulting in the tragic loss of all occupants. A more recent case is the deliberate crash of Germanwings Airbus into the French Alps on March 24, 2015, claiming all lives on board. In this instance, the co-pilot, Andreas Lubitz, locked the pilot out of the cockpit while he went to the bathroom. Lubitz had exhibited signs of distress earlier and had previously shown interest in the disappearance of MH370. Attributing responsibility for the MH370 incident to the co-pilot is a challenging proposition. Despite being a young and optimistic individual, seemingly anticipating marriage, there is no record of conflicts or uncertainties regarding his mental state. Furthermore, he was not a German pilot associated with a struggling low-cost airline characterized by low pay and prestige. Rather, he was piloting a prestigious Boeing 777 in a country where the national airline and its pilots command high respect. Concerns have been raised regarding Captain Zahari, who, as per official reports, is portrayed as an outstanding pilot and a composed family man with a penchant for flight simulators, a narrative endorsed by his family. However, several troubling indicators have been conspicuously overlooked. Despite police uncovering details about Zahari's life that warranted a more in-depth inquiry, the formal conclusions drawn appear insufficient. The assessment of Zahari's ability to manage work-related stress as good and the absence of prior evidence indicating apathy, anxiety, or irritability are highlighted. The report underscores that his lifestyle, interpersonal relationships, and family dynamics showed no significant alterations. Moreover, there were no observable signs of social isolation, changes in habits, or shifts in interests. CCTV recordings at the airport were employed to scrutinize Zahari's behavior on the day of the flight and during the preceding 3 flights. The findings assert that Zahari remained consistent in his demeanor, well-groomed appearance, and attire. His usual characteristics, including posture, facial expressions, and mannerisms, were reported to be unchanged during these periods. However, this official report appears either irrelevant or at odds with the known details about Zahari, as it fails to address troubling indications that were disregarded. Zahari's life was marked by profound sadness and loneliness after his wife departed, leading him to spend considerable time in solitude between flights. Complicating matters, he harbored feelings for a married woman with 3 children, and fixated on 2 young internet models found on social media. Regrettably, his attempts to connect with them were met with silence, and some of his comments proved to be inappropriate. Zahari's life underwent a drastic transformation, causing him to feel disconnected from his once stable and well-established existence. Excessive use of social media is posited as a potential factor contributing to his isolation. Experts suggest that he may have grappled with clinical depression. A significant aspect overlooked in the official investigation is the FBI's discovery of evidence on Zahari's flight simulator indicating a flight pattern resembling that of MH370. Despite this potentially crucial information, Malaysian investigators accorded it minimal importance. The significance of this finding merits closer scrutiny, given its potential relevance to the broader context of the incident. The unexplained additions to MH370's manifest. Victor Ianello, an inventive entrepreneur from Roanoke, Virginia, has earned acclaim as a distinguished member of an independent group, engaging in extensive analyses of simulated flights. His primary focus lies on the flight of Malaysian Airlines, MH370, a facet seemingly overlooked by Malaysian investigators. What captures Ianello's attention is the non-continuous trajectory taken by Zahari, the pilot, on MH370's simulator. Zahari opted for a manual advancement of the flight in stages, repeatedly skipping ahead and adjusting fuel until the aircraft vanished. Ianello firmly asserts that Zahari bears responsibility for the incident. Notably, there is no technical rationale for Zahari to employ such a practice on a consumer-grade product like a Microsoft game. Consequently, Ianello speculates that the simulator flight served as a symbolic farewell, leaving behind a deliberate trail of clues. While we may lack a full understanding of Zahari's motives without an explicit explanation, dismissing the simulator flight as mere happenstance is unwarranted. Ianello emphasizes its significance in comprehending the events surrounding the disappearance of MH370. Various theories surrounding the responsibility for the incident diverge, with some implicating the flight captain and others suggesting a scenario where a passenger hijacked the plane after surreptitiously boarding. This concept gained traction when investigators delving into the disappearance of the Malaysia Airlines flight uncovered an enigmatic additional load of 14 stones, equivalent to 196 pounds, appended to the flight manifest post-takeoff. Mr. Gislin, who had family members on the flight, disclosed that French investigators disclosed this cargo revelation in a report addressing passengers and baggage. Supporting this notion, Mr. Waterloo, who aligns with the belief that the flight was intentionally brought down, cited a report from the French newspaper La Parisienne indicating an overloaded container on the flight. However, no clarification accompanied this discovery. Furthermore, an unidentified load of 89 kilos was found to be added to the flight manifest after takeoff, contributing to the overloaded container without a discernible rationale. The nature of these actions, whether stemming from incompetence or deliberate manipulation, remains unclear, leaving all possibilities open. These unresolved questions are anticipated to feature prominently in the ongoing inquiries involving Malaysian authorities. According to Tim Termini, a recognized expert in aviation security, there is substantial support for the theory that a hijacking likely transpired in the case under consideration. He identifies 4 plausible scenarios for the hijack. The first involves a crew member seizing control. The second entails a passenger acting as the hijacker. The third, albeit uncommon, revolves around a stowaway. And the fourth envisions the aircraft being remotely commandeered through an electrical system. However, in 2018, Philippa Baum, the editor of the academic journal Aviation Security International and a professor specializing in aviation security, highlighted a noticeable reluctance among officials to entertain the notion of a stowaway. Baum emphasized that the possibility of a stowaway should be seriously considered, pointing out that officials appeared unwilling to even contemplate this scenario. Esteemed historian Norman Davis presents a closely intertwined concept, suggesting the possibility that the aircraft in question may have been remotely hijacked and redirected to a covert location. Davis proposes that experts in cyber technology could have exploited a system designed to prevent a repetition of the 9/11 terror attacks, allowing for the ground control of hijacked planes. Specifically, he references the Boeing Honeywell uninterruptible autopilot, a technology expounded upon in his book Beneath Another Sky, A Global Journey into History. The existence of this technology introduces the disquieting notion of remote control of the plane, prompting Davis to speculate on potential motives. He suggests that the aircraft might have been transporting sensitive material or individuals bound for Beijing, making it a target for kidnapping attempts. Given the absence of conclusive answers, Davis considers it reasonable to engage in speculative thinking. According to his proposed sequence of events, the plane could have been initially remotely hijacked by a hacker with intentions to divert it to the U.S. naval base in Diego Garcia, located in the Indian Ocean. Subsequently, another hacker or remote controller might have intervened to prevent the plane from reaching its originally intended destination. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. Let us unravel the mystery of MH370 and understand what went wrong on that fateful day. You see, the perplexing case of MH370 has intrigued investigators and aviation experts alike, leading to numerous theories to unravel the mystery. One compelling hypothesis suggests intentional manipulation by someone intimately acquainted with the Boeing 777. The speculation includes the chilling possibility that both pilots might have lost consciousness, resulting in an unpredictable flight path. This erratic trajectory, some believe, could be linked to desperate attempts by the pilots to deviate from the original route, with the unfortunate occurrence of one succumbing to unconsciousness before the other. Delving into technical analyses, another theory proposes that those in control of the aircraft aimed for a safe landing on a suitable runway. Remarkably, this interpretation avoids delving into political considerations and leans heavily on radar and Inmarsat data. Adding to the intrigue, the aircraft disappeared precisely at a waypoint where 5 different airspaces converge, deepening the enigma surrounding MH370's disappearance. The evening of March 8, 2014, witnessed the departure of MH370 under clear skies, carrying passengers of diverse nationalities bound for Beijing. Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah and First Officer Fariq Abdul Hamid, the pilots entrusted with the flight, displayed no signs of mental stress during pre-takeoff checks. The events that transpired during the flight, however, continue to baffle the aviation community, constituting a significant puzzle in the history of air travel. An experienced aviation journalist underscores that MH370 was a meticulously maintained aircraft operated by competent professionals from a reputable airline. Despite the Malaysian government's initial report detailing the flight's route, comprehending the sequence of events remains an elusive challenge in the ongoing investigation into the disappearance of MH370. Let us know what you think in the comments below. MH370's potential encounter with military actions. Certain experts posit the notion that MH370 could have been inadvertently shot down during a collaborative military training exercise between Thailand and the US in the South China Sea, which coincided with the aircraft's disappearance. This potential eventuality might have arisen due to miscommunication, technical malfunction, or human error. Marc Tagain, a former director of a French airline, asserted that he observed satellite images depicting unidentified aircraft in the vicinity during MH370's disappearance. Gain also claimed to have received anonymous threats discouraging him from pursuing this theory, hinting at a possible connection to mistaken identity. Another conjecture suggests that MH370 might have been accidentally targeted and shot down by the military of a nation, under the impression that it posed a threat or was suspicious. The source of this confusion could be attributed to the plane deviating from its designated course, experiencing communication failures, or bearing a resemblance to another aircraft. Nigel Cawthorne, a British author, even proposed the idea that US TIE fighters shot down MH370, fearing it was approaching their military base on Diego Garcia Island in the Indian Ocean. Cawthorne speculated that the presence of sensitive cargo or personnel aboard the plane might have attracted unwarranted attention or hostility. Going further, some conspiracy theories assert that the downing of MH370 was orchestrated as part of a cover-up operation by a state actor, driven by political or strategic motives. This scenario could potentially involve the creation of a diversion, the framing of another country, or the retrieval of valuable items from the aircraft. Giselena Watrolu, a French relative of one of the passengers, has asserted that the US Air Force deliberately downed MH370 to confiscate electronic equipment destined for China, alleging that an international cover-up was executed to conceal the truth. Nevertheless, these theories face several challenges and criticisms. The absence of concrete evidence or a discernible motive for a shoot-down complicates the substantiation of these claims. There is no conclusive proof of any missile or fighter jet in proximity to MH370, nor is there evidence of any state actor possessing the intention to shoot it down. The validity of the satellite images and anonymous threats mentioned remains unverified by official sources. Furthermore, the act of shooting down a civilian plane and concealing it would necessitate substantial coordination, authorization, legal ramifications, and participation in a colossal conspiracy. This complexity makes it challenging to accept such claims without any leaks or whistleblowers coming forward. An alternative theory posits that the plane, presumed to have crashed and vanished in the Indian Ocean, might not have sunk. This notion arises from reports by many relatives of the passengers who claim to have heard a ringing tone emanating from their loved ones' phones for up to 4 days following the presumed crash. 19 families have shared similar experiences, with a poignant example being a family member demonstrating on Chinese television that he could still call his deceased brother's phone, and it would ring. This phenomenon has prompted telecommunications expert Paul Franks to endorse the ringtone theory. Franks staunchly believes that if the plane had indeed crashed into the ocean, the phones would not have sustained functionality and continued to ring for an extended period. Explaining his perspective on Reddit, Franks pointed out that when a phone is submerged, especially in seawater, it is highly improbable for it to survive and remain operational. Even if, against the odds, it did survive, it wouldn't receive signals from the depths of the ocean. Considering this evidence, there is a compelling suggestion that the plane did not crash into the sea as initially believed. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.